Today, transitioning from public school to homeschooling. How in the world do you do that?
I was all alone, but then you came along.
Hi, I'm Erin Berry, author of Yes, You Can Homeschool, the Terrified Parent's Companion to Homeschool Success, and creator of the online equipping course, Yes, You Can Homeschool. In brief, I'm a 22-year homeschool veteran, an education consultant, and a keynote speaker. And if you want to find out more information on my background, check out my introductory video or go to our website, thehomeeducatedmind.com. So, how do you transition from public school to homeschooling? Step number 1, you have to notify your current school board. And that could be either through a letter of intent or going online and filling out a form. And actually, because education is determined through the state, every state has different requirements. So one of your best resources is HSLDA.org. Then you look up your state and find out what your state requires. But once you do that, you can start the process. You don't have to wait till the end of the year. You don't have to wait till a semester change. You can actually begin that process today. Number 2 is that you want to also talk to your children. If this is something you're going to do, make sure that you have a discussion with your kids, because believe it or not, even if they want to, they may have some fears transitioning, and they might be, what to expect, and they're used to their school situation. So it's not unusual for them to be a little bit scared. And so talk with them and encourage them that, these are going to be some changes, but it's a good change and you're going to walk through it together. Number 3 is, once you do that, you pull out of your school system and you decide this is what you're going to do, it is an adjustment. I mean, it's going to be an adjustment for both of you, not just your kids, but for you too. So you're going to have to give grace to yourselves as you figure out what is our routine, what's our new flow going to be like, how are we going to, as a family, manage this adjustment. And for kids, especially if they've been in the school system, they're used to the routine. That's their normal. And so you might want to help them just with the expectations that being at home is not going to look the same as in a classroom. You've got the dog, you've got the laundry, you've got the siblings. So homeschooling is different than what you do in a school system. And so that could be a bit of an adjustment, but it's all very doable. I used to be a school teacher, and I got hired in the 3rd grade at a school, and school had already been in session for 5 weeks. They had had this teacher, Miss Sandlin, for 3 weeks, and she quit and went somewhere else. Sub for 2 weeks, then me. I want you to know that in April, they were still saying to me, but Miss Berry, this is how Miss Sandlin did it. Miss Sandlin was only there for 3 weeks. I had been there for 6 months. But it just goes to show that we are sort of creatures of habit. We're used to a format when things start one way. We kind of expect them to be like that. So if my students would be like that, having Miss Sandlin only for 3 weeks, you can imagine just the adjustment it could be for your kids if they've been in a public school setting for a while. All right, this kind of goes along with the adjustment. It's aim for the ideal, but live in the real. I want you to have standards for your education. You've got these plans, you've got these ideas that you're using as you head into your homeschool, and that's important. But I just want to remind you, like anything, our ideals and reality can be very different. And so don't be surprised if your kids complain. Don't be surprised if you have an off day. As a matter of fact, most people have 4 to 5 off days a month. Did you know that? And your kids have had 4 to 5 off days a month while they were in public school, but because they were sort of lost in the crowd, so to speak, it wasn't noticed, and that's just part of life. They went on. But you're going to notice at home when your kids are kind of having an off day. Matter of fact, you're going to notice you have off days, and you're not going to be as productive on some days as others. You know what? That's normal. Just keep going through, except that's that day, and keep, the next day just pick up and it'll probably be better or more productive. But just know that as you're homeschooling, these things can be more noticeable, but you're in this for the long haul. It's the culmination of all your days. Now, depending on your kid's age, I want you to also consider that homeschooling tends to take less time than being in public school. And that's great because it gives you the opportunity to do a lot of different things. But something to be aware of is that sometimes you might, in order to have, time alone, or whatever, you might find that your kids are on screens more than maybe they should be. So before you even start, kind of have a plan of how you're going to manage their free time and what they're going to do during their free time, so that you're in control of screen time and social media. It's a new thing we're all learning to work through, but it's great if you have a plan as you're going in. Totally manageable, totally a part of, like I said, our culture now, but it's a good idea if you're thinking ahead, how am I going to handle that? And number 4 is curriculum. Once you decide, you want to start looking at curriculum options and find out what you want to use. And there are tons of choices today, and many of them are great options. So maybe you want to talk with some friends of yours that are already homeschooling, read online reviews, go to curriculum fairs, and just start to look and see what you like. But I want you to know one thing for sure: there is no such thing as a perfect curriculum. It's a common question. Parents always ask, what's the best math curriculum? What's the best reading curriculum? And the truth is, there isn't really a best. Find one you seem to like and just begin. Look for the skills you're trying to teach, maybe the approach that matters to you, and just start. I tried a bunch of different curriculum over my years of homeschooling, and sometimes I chose it because the price was right. Sometimes I chose it because I liked the way that it presented. Either way, brought it home, used it, and it was great. So you have lots of freedom here. The key is just don't get so overwhelmed and that you're looking for perfection. Just pick something and start. And I'm going to tell you a secret. As you grow as a teacher, as you understand this whole homeschooling process, it'll be easier for you to pick curriculum because you'll kind of know what works with your family and what works with you. Number 5, ease into the academics. You don't need to spring, as soon as you come home from public school, just start with a full-fledged homeschooling the next day. And matter of fact, it's actually a good idea to take your time to ease into it. Homeschooling doesn't look like public school. You've got laundry, you've got the dog, you've got all these other things, and it's learning to find that flow. So when you first decide to homeschool and you've come out of public school and you're home, you might take that first week and just do some fun things to sort of unwind, acclimate, and particularly if it was a stressful situation you're coming out of. You might go to the library, take a field trip, do some fun things like experiments at home or even cooking. But you want these less structured activities to allow you to acclimate. And then you can begin to add subjects in. Like maybe you start with math for a couple days, and then you add reading. And then a few days later you add English. And you just add bit by bit like that until you get into your flow. Because it's okay to take a little while to transition. Number 6, don't go overboard. I cannot tell you the number of kids that I work with who their parents have them scheduled out of the wazoo with activities and co-ops and sports and drama and art. I will say this is one of the difficult things. There are so many great opportunities out there to be a part of, and it can be overwhelming to have to make choices. But I always remember the saying, do less, better. You brought them home. You brought them home because you wanted to be able to build relationship, academics, and help them to grow and strengthen in their character. So don't, have their schedule so crazy that you're not getting the time to do those important things. And as I said, the decisions can be overwhelming, but you've got a lifetime to grow these learners, and it's a process, so take your time. Number 6, don't go overboard. I have worked with students where their parents have way overscheduled them. They have them attending all of these outside activities, from co-ops and classes and sports and arts and drama and music. And, unfortunately, we live at a time where we have so many wonderful things available to us. Honestly, it is really hard to make those decisions. But I want to encourage you to do less better. Avoid the pressure to be involved in everything. Take the time to slow down, pick what you want to focus on, and do that. And remember that you're growing lifelong learners, and it's okay to take your time. And 7 is community. Find people to be involved with. You might find, now I just said don't schedule overboard. Isn't that funny? Now I'm saying find a community. But I mean, do find a place where you can belong. It's doesn't have to necessarily be a big group either. Just somewhere where you can have some fellowship. And be sensitive to the fact that even if school was stressful for your child, they were part of a community they belonged to. And we're creatures of habit. And so we kind of find our security in what we know. Think Israel wanting to go back to Egypt. They were slaves, and yet they had their freedom, but you know what? They wanted to go back because it's what they knew. So while you're finding a new community for your student, also consider that they were a part of a former community, and how can they maybe stay in touch with some of their friends. That will make the transition smoother. My daughter went to kindergarten, and we pulled her out about Christmas time. And she was excited to come home and homeschool, but she missed her friends. And so we kept in touch. And actually, I even let her go back the last day or two of school of that year and to be with those kids. And it was funny? She went. It wasn't all she thought it would be. And I think that really sealed the deal. But being considerate of her heart and the fact that, you are letting go of relationships and building new ones, and just letting her know that, hey, that those relationships are still there. They can still be part of our life, I think helped her transition beautifully. And number 8, enjoy the process. You might be tempted to be a little bit frustrated with the learning curve. You might find the process of homeschooling a little bit messy. And I don't mean that your house is messy, although that might be a point too, but more that homeschooling isn't as cut and dry as when you go to a classroom and have school there. So you might be tempted to think, I just want this to be smoother, or I don't know, maybe you get a little bit anxious, uptight, I don't know. But what I would suggest is step back and watch your children. Notice their precious features. Consider what you love about them and what makes them unique. Think about their hearts, their dreams, their vulnerability, and why you're doing this. Remember that you're not guaranteed for tomorrow. Circumstances change. Even if everything goes great, they will grow, you will grow, and you will never get today back. So you want to really live in the moment. Your children will not be this age forever. Every stage has its challenges, but every stage has its blessings. I remember when my children were young, some days I'd think, oh my gosh, is it 5 o'clock yet? Can I put them, I'd think, is it 7 o'clock? Can I put them to bed? And it's only 5, but it was a big job. It was tiring. Being a parent is hard work, and now you're adding in this homeschooling. But it's also a privilege, and you want to be as deliberate and engaged as you can while it's happening. I have some wonderful memories. We didn't have cell phones back in the day, so I don't have all these great pictures and videos. But I have beautiful memories that are etched in my heart. And one is, I'd be with my kids all the time, right? And yet, if I'd go grocery shopping, only gone for an hour, and I'd come back, it was fun because we parked our car in the back, and I came up to our door, and we had a half window in our door so I could halfway see into the house. And I would come up to the door and it would magically open because I couldn't see anything through that half window, but the door would open. And then this little face would peek around, and they were so excited for me to come home. Like I said, I was with them all the time. It was only an hour. But that relationship was so special, and they were excited to see me, and I loved it. And I say that because our days, I didn't always know what I was doing, and our lessons weren't perfect. The kids had bad attitudes. I worried if what we were doing was even worth it or if it would work. But I look back now, and I'm so glad that we started. I'm so glad we began the process. And we lived those days together. And, I could have waited till it was perfect, till I had it all figured out. Guess what? I'd still be waiting. But instead, I am so glad we shared those imperfect days together. You can definitely, successfully do this transition from public school to homeschooling, and it can be great. I hope this video has eased some of your concerns and encouraged you that it's totally possible to transition from public school to homeschooling. If you like this video, please let us know in the comments below. Give it a thumbs up, and we'd love it if you would subscribe. And if you do, hit the bell on the subscribe button, and that way you'll be notified whenever we have new content. You can also check us out at thehomeeducatedmind.com. Until next time, thank you, and remember, yes, you can homeschool.